This building here is quite important for the history of the educational missions. It is the Residencia de Estudiantes, a building which was founded in 1910, that means nearly 100 years ago. The building served as residence for students and intellectuals who came from all over the world. Among other famous Spaniards, Salvador Dalí, the surrealist painter, Federico García Lorca, the poet, and Luis Buñuel, the surrealist movie director, stayed here for a while in 1929. The residence is closely linked to the Institución Libre de Enseñanza, an institution founded by liberal professors in 1876. Students of the institution who partially lived here at the residence formed the choir of the Residencia de Estudiantes, which later should become the theater and the choir of the people who presented music and plays in the villages joining the educational missions. Olive trees and grain, the typical area in front of the village of Valdepeñas de la Sierra, visited by an educational mission in 1932. The missionaries then said that the village was dominated by a few landlords and insofar corrupted, something they wanted to remediate. The landscape in this area is still quite harsh. This is continental climate, that means very hot summers and also quite hot winters. This is the town hall of Valdepeñas de la Sierra, and here we have the Plaza Mayor, the big place where in 1932 movies were projected and music played from gramophones. This is the main street of Valdepeñas, which leads directly from the Plaza Mayor to the old church. This is the church tower of the Church of Valdepeñas. It's a nice example of the typical architecture of the area. The moment seems to be closed and renovated. I'm sitting here in front of the Church of Valdepeñas. I've just been talking to the mayor of the village, which today has a population of about 170. As it seems, in the 1970s, the only school in the area was closed, and they also don't have a library. I asked her about remnants of the educational mission in 1932, but it seems absolutely nothing is left. There are also no villagers who have a memory of the educational mission. Couldn't find anyone. This is a view into the surrounding area from the church square. What we can see here is the old street, it's not a street, it's a horse path, which leads from Valdepeñas to Albertrete de la Sierra, where the missionaries took books to the primary school in Albertrete on horseback. Just on the left we see the new street, which is tarred, but also not very broad. Here we are in Albertrete de la Sierra, which is one of the villages where the educational mission in 1932 brought books to. Here in the background you can see one of the traditional buildings typical for the black architecture. It means these houses are made with slate, and they are still existing, I think, for the last 200 years or so, and haven't changed very much in the last 2 centuries. But today no one may live in these houses, but they were populated in 1932. This is the central square of the village of Albertrete de la Sierra, where we may suppose that movies were projected in 1932. Today it's a little bit abandoned. One rest that still is there from the 1930s is the fountain. This is the path which comes from Madrid. You can see today Madrid on the horizon, just the new towers that were constructed, just about 60 kilometers away from here. Today there is a country road, not very comfortable, but more comfortable than in 1932. The missionaries in 1932 had to pass the books and movies on horseback on paths like these. It must have been quite uncomfortable to move heavy loads through landscapes like these and over paths like these, just through the mountains.